Boker Tov. Today's Daf Yomi is Moed Katan Daf Yud Aleph Moed Katan 11. We're going to start on the bottom of 10b, where the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yossi Bar Avin. Rabbi Yossi Bar Avin said, "Ubedavar Avin mutter," that if there's something that there's going to be a loss on Chol Moed, you're allowed to do it. Meaning to say, Tosos explains what this means. Davar Pirush Bedavar Shem Lo Yinkarena Ata. And if you're not going to sell it now, you're going to lose that opportunity for that price, and you're going to lose money from the principal. That's what Toso says. But if you're not going to lose from the principal, just you won't make as much of a profit, then Toso says that's not considered a davar of a loss of money. Ravina had some product that he used to sell for that people were offering $6,000 or 6,000 of the currency to purchase it on Chol Moed, but he wouldn't sell it. And he wouldn't sell it. Shayel is buni basar Chol Moed. He said, "I'm going to only sell it after Chol Moed." And guess what happened? The Zabne betrayed Sir Alpha. He sold it for $12,000. He made a lot of money. Ravina had a claim that he could make against the people of the town of Akre Shamvasa. Asla Lakame de Ravashi came before Ravashi. Amrle Malam Mezel Ino. So he said to Ravashi, "Can I go and collect my money from them on Chol Moed?" And Ravashi said to them, "No." Amrle Kivan da Inna. Ravashi said to Ravina, "Since today," he said, "you're allowed to do it." Kivan da Inna who the Mishkachaslu. He said, since today you can collect the money from them because you know where you collect them. Therefore, it's like and you if you don't so it's like
you're breaking up.
I'll try to keep breaking up. Let me know. Idolatry is a similar thing. I get a similar law. Holchem allowed to go where Yerid Shvakim. Yerid is the marketplace of the idolaters.
Yeah, you're still.
Are other people? Am I breaking? Other people?
Yep, you're very bad.
There's nothing I can do about it. I don't
Very
know
hard to hear. Very hard to hear.
I don't know what else I could do. I shut the Wi-Fi off. Maybe I'll shut my sound off. Hold on. I'll stop my video. I'll shut my video, not my sound. I can't shut my sound. I'll shut my video. Okay. Hopefully this is better. There's no. Maybe we're just in a bad zone. I don't know. Like we're not.
It's better already. Better already.
Okay. So hopefully, so we say that you're allowed to go to the fair of the idolaters. The Lochem Behema Avadim Ushvachos Batim Usados Ukramim. The Kosev Imalabar Koshohen. So you're allowed to go to the marketplace of the idolaters. You're allowed to go to the marketplace of the idolaters on. You're allowed to go to the marketplace of the idolaters on the day of their marketplace and purchase from them the products that you purchase from them, and then you're even allowed to write contracts. Even though typically speaking, we don't write contracts with the idolaters, that you're going to agree in the contract that you're going to go to their courts. It says in this week's parsha, we just did this in the Rashi before the Daf Yomi. We do the Rashi in between the davening and the Daf. We said that you're not supposed to go to the arkos, to the courts of the idolaters. But here you're allowed to do it. If you don't go, it's like it's like you're saving money, because you're saving the money from going to the idolaters, because otherwise you're not going to have a claim on them in the court. So therefore, we see from here a similar idea that you're allowed to do something if otherwise you're going to lose the money. Rav allowed Chia Barashi to make the nets for fish on Chol Moed. He said this is not the work of a craftsman, it's the work of a commoner. My time. He says, it's the work of a commoner. Avo Islay also, but to make the nets of birds is prohibited. My time, Maisa Umanhu. It's the work of a craftsman to make a net for a bird. Rabbi Yehuda Sharo Ami Tanura Migdal Tanure. Rabbi Yehuda allowed Ami Tanura to make an oven. Ami, the oven maker, allowed him to make an oven. Or Rav Bar Ashvi Migdal Maholta. He allowed Rav Bar Ashvi to make a sieve on Chol Moed. Any is this the case with Rabbi Bar Shmuel? But Rabbi Bar Shmuel taught. Rabbi Bar Shmuel taught. So Rabbi Bar Shmuel taught v'shavan she'en godlin tanur lechatchila that you're not allowed to make an oven on Chol Moed. So he says no. Lo kasha kan b'mosachama kan b'mosach shamim. One is during the winter, i.e. Sukkot, when it's rainy, then the oven's not going to be ready. And one is during the summer months when it's going to be ready right away, and then you can use it on Chol Moed. All right. I hope the sound is improved. So we'll hope for the best. I'll try it with my video and we'll see how it works.
Sound is better.
Okay, so says the Mishnah. We're now at the Mishnah. What does the Mishnah say? The Mishnah says, Osin Makalagag Omer Passes. You're allowed to make a fence for a roof or for a porch. This doesn't necessarily mean that this is the fence that if you don't make it, people are going to fall off and get hurt, like the Torah refers to when you have to make a fence. This just could be maybe like a decorative fence that you make for your roof or your porch. But some say it actually is the fence that's required. So you're allowed to make this fence for the roof of the porch, but you're only allowed to do it as a Maisa Hedju. You're only allowed to do it as in a manner that it's that not a skilled laborer. But not a skilled work. Shafanas as a sadakin, you could smooth over the cracks, magiono sun, and you could roll over the cracks of the oven. We're talking about an oven here, where it says Rashi, b'magila biyad v'regel. You can roll them over with a roller with your hand and your foot of a little bit machlatzayim. But now with machlatzayim is a sophisticated tool that the craftsman uses that you can't use. Hatzir v'atzinor v'akora v'amanur v'mafteach shenishbaru mitaknem b'moed. So if you have these are all parts of the door. Tzir, tzinor, akora, manur, mafteach. All these parts of the door, if they broke, you can fix them on Chol Moed, because otherwise people have access to your house. You're certainly going to lose money if everybody has access to your house. You can't plan it to do the work on Chol Moed. The whole kavash and anything that you're pickling, if you're going to be able to eat from it on Chol Moed kosher, you can pickle it on Chol Moed. So the Gemara says, what is it considered to be with a fence or a wall that's a amateur work and not the work of a pro? If it's a wall with leaves, made out of leaves, masnisatana, or we learned, and we also learned that what is it referring to? We learned in the Brisa that it's referring to tsar betzror. You just put the stones up, but you didn't put the cement or the over it. You can smooth over the cracks with a roller. So the Gemara says, so if you say you could do it with a roller, which is a tool, why do we have to mention the foot and the hand? Obviously, you could do it with it. It's even more crude to do with a foot and your hand than with a roller. So no, now, this is how we read the Mishnah. Shafan es sadak, and you can roll over the shafan es sadak. You can fix up the cracks. Magiono san ke'e magila biyadu v'regel, and you can smooth them out very well with your hand and your foot. So much so that it looks like you did it with a roller. So much so that it looks like you did it with a roller. Of a low b'machlatzayim, but not. You can't use a machlatzayim. And you can't use this sophisticated tool. You can't even use a roller. You could just do it so that it looks like you used a roller with your hand or your foot. Okay, so now we said in the Mishnah that any part of the door that breaks, you can fix as long as you didn't intend to do it on Chol Moed. You're allowed to fix them on Chol Moed. So Gemara says, but we have a contradictory source. Ad Yamav. So all of his life, then we're referring to Rashi says to Yochanan Kohen Gadol, who was the high priest during the Second Temple. So all of his life. So this is at least 150 years before the temple was destroyed. So all of the life of Yochanan Kohen Gadol, what did he do? Hayapatish Makeb Yerushalayim. That what did he do? All of his days, he would the people were smacking their hammers in Jerusalem, Moed, and he made a decree and nullified it. So we see you're not allowed to bang your hammer. You can't fix the door. Means to say Adimov until his time it was allowed. But from once he got around, he stopped the banging of the hammers. Gemara says, Well, it depends what type of hammer. If it was a blacksmith that bangs on metal, that's going to be not allowed. But if it's a carpenter, that's going to be allowed, like a door. That's okay. Maskell for Rav Chisda. So Rav Chisda challenges Yomru Kal Rabba Aser Kal Zutra Shar. So you're going to be subjective. A loud noise is prohibited. A small noise is permitted. Everybody thinks they speak in a regular voice. Nobody's going to say I'm a loud talker. Nobody's going to admit that they're the ones making the loud noise. So it's not a good objective term. So the Elam Rav Chisda Kasha Haba Magli Haba Chatzine. So he says, okay, well, it depends what tool you're using. If you're using Magli, which is some like basically doesn't make a noise, that's going to be okay. But Chatzine, so when you use a Magli, and that's one term, and the other is a chatzini. So what Rabbi Yochanan Kohen Gadol made a decree about was when you smack it with a hammer, and so that's what he didn't allow. But the magli was allowed. Let's look at what Rashi says. Rashi says magli is meser agadol shari. Duo moed kol akuim. The magli gives out a very almost nothing. But chatzini is a barda, is aser davilude kol atfei. It gives out more noise. So if you're going to use something that doesn't make a noise, it's permitted. Depends on the tool, not on the sound of it. So Rav Papa says no. Kan kodem zera, kan achar zera. No, one was before the decree, one was after the decree. Before the decree, they used everything. After the decree, they couldn't use anything. Rav Ashi Amar Ha Rav Yehuda Rav Yossi Rav Yitzchak Damar Rav Yitzchak Rav Dimi Mantana Shinoi b'Moed b'Davar Avid. Who's the one who says that on Chol Moed, if you're going to lose money, you still have to use a shino, you still have to do it differently. The look Rabbi now and Amar Avina Kamam and Adlina Ina Kaviusa the Dasha B'chod, and we have the custom to pick up the beam on the door. Say
You're breaking up.
Rabbi, turn off your video again.
So like the practice of basically putting it back in its place and hammering the nails in without making a change, even though it looks like it's a craftsman, like Humazel, that's like Rebbe Yossi, who allows work without a change. So kavashin shel yachol b'moed kosher. The kavashin is the pickling. You're allowed to pickle something if you can eat it on Chol Moed. So the Gemara says, the Disa Libai, the river from the place of Libai, Azil Kavre, so all the fish, there was a lot of fish there. So Azil Koyama came to catch the fish. Sharu Rabba and Limach Minayo. So Rabba allowed them to salt this fish on Chol Moed. Amar Abaye Vatanan, Kvashin Shu Yachol Achol B'Moed. Kovshan. So the Gemara says that Abaye you're only allowed to salt something if you can eat it Chol Moed, and he's making much salt on the fish. He's not going to eat it Chol Moed. So he says no. So Rabbi said back to Abaye, I'm like, Kimi to me, Kara, Data, Dachila, Sinu, Vishavik, Paste, Prachmatia, Avedame, Ushari says, no, since initially they brought the fish to eat it, and if he's going to leave it and not salt the fish, it's going to lose all of it. Money they're going to lose, and then it's permitted. Ikadamri, some say, Sharlu Rava made Rabbi initially allowed him to go out and trap the fish and then We said all fish that you could eat on Chol Moed, you could do it. No, yeah, he says even though it's salted, you could still eat it by squeezing it out. Shmuel squeezed it 60 times, and then he ate it. Rava came to Reish Kalusa's house, and they squeezed the fish 60 times and he ate it. Rav Shapir, Rav came to Rav Shapir's home, and they brought him some fish. Tilta bishua was a third cooked in water. Tilta milcha was a third salted. The tilta tavia still roasted, and he liked it. It was good fish. Amarav, Amari Adat Saida, Adat the fisherman said to me, Kavra Samach Misrachemali. He said, fish, the moment before he spoils is Geshmak. That's the best time to eat it. Just before it spoils, that's the best time to eat the fish. The Amar Rav, Amari Adat Saida, Kavra Tavia Bachua, the fish, you're supposed to roast it in its brother, meaning to say in salt, because the fish comes from salt, like salt water, so roast in its brother. Asuke ba'avua, steep it in its father, which is water, and meichle bebrei, and eat it in its son, which is fish juice. And ishtele avua, and then afterwards drink after it its father, which is water. The fisherman said to me, Kavra fish, tachli, cress, lechalba, and milk, lito and gufa, veloliton puria. These things are heavy for the body. The body can carry them, veloliton puria, but you should walk after you eat them, and don't go to sleep first, because it's going to be bad if you go to sleep right after them. So go for a walk after you eat all these things. Fish, cress, and milk. Have water and not beer. And if you're going to have no water, drink beer and not wine. That's the end of the chapter. Just before we turn the page, we say that he said that the fisherman said fish just before it spoils is good for you. By the way, that is what somebody who's going to sell you the fish is going to say to you. This is what the person selling you the fish is. But Tosfos says, no, don't do that anymore. Tosfos says, Bisman Hazeh, Tosfos was already writing in the 12th century in Germany, or in Northern Europe, in Germany or France, says, Bisman Hazeh tovsim sakana lamechol samach l'sirchon. He says, nowadays it's dangerous. Nowadays it's dangerous. Nowadays it's dangerous to eat the fish just before it goes bad. Nowadays it's dangerous to eat the fish just before it goes bad. And so Tosfos says that's because we'd have to say nishtanu ateva, that the nature we've changed, we've mutated, or the fish is mutated, or the salt is mutated, or the rotting is mutated. We can't handle it anymore. They had a stronger stomach. So now we're up to the next chapter. The next chapter continues more of what we've just been discussing. Misha afach hazesav, somebody who has prepared his olives to press them, the iro avel ones, and all of a sudden he becomes a mourner. And so since he's a mourner, he's not allowed to work. Ones, or if he is, or something happened, an accident beyond his control, shehitu poem, or the contractors basically lied to him. They said, we're showing up tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We promise you we're going to be there tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We promise. It's a short thing. And then they didn't show up. So Tohen Kora Rishona. So if he leaves it, if he doesn't press them at all from that point, they're going to be ruined. So he could do the first press of the olives, and he could leave it after the Yantif. Then Rabbi Yossi says, Zoev the Gomer Vigav Kedarko. Rabbi Yossi says, no, he could pour all the olives onto the press and squeeze them out until you get all the oil, and then gather up all the oil into a barrel and cover them up properly, like you do the whole year. So the Gemara says, wait 1 second. You start with a mourner, and then you say you could complete it after the Yantif. Why do we switch from a mourner to a Yantif? It doesn't make sense. So Amar Shisha Brega Vidi, so Maris is teaching us the principle that there are certain things that are allowed during Chol Moed, but you still can't do them while you're a mourner. Rav Ashi gives a different answer. He says, Lomi Baye Kamer. It's saying Lomi Baye. Not only this, but also this. Lomi Baye B'Me'evla. Not only during his days of his mourning are you allowed to press the first time. Who Vishari, that it's just rabbinically prohibited, and therefore you're going to allow the mourner to do it because you're going to lose money. But even on Chol Moed, the Isur Malacha Midiaraisa, which is prohibited biblically. Remember, we saw it the first off. Rashi says it's biblically prohibited. So even the first, even on Chol Moed, where it's a biblical prohibition, b'makom seder sharabanan, the rabbis allowed you when even though it's a biblical prohibition, the rabbis allowed you to press the oil when you're going to lose money. Says the Gemara, Tanya Kavasi Rav Shisha Brei Rav Ida. We have a brisa that supports Rav Shisha. Ehud Varma Osin La Avel B'Yemei Evel. These are the things you do for the mourner in the days of his mourning. What do? Zaysav Hafuchim. He's allowed to turn over the olives because if you don't do that, he's going to lose all of his money. Toan and low, and he's allowed to carry the beam so that he doesn't lose the olive beam, and also Vikado, and he's also, if his jug of oil was uncovered, he's allowed to cover it. Vipishtano, and let's say he has the flax that he's soaking to lalos min hamishra. He can take out the flax from the soaker so it doesn't get ruined. Utsamaro lalos min hayora, and also the wool from the pot. Marbitzim sadeu, and he could also water his field. And mishategia onas hamayim shlo, when it comes time to water it. All these things you're allowed to do for a mourner during his days of mourning. So we see from this brisa, like Rav Sheshet Brei Rav Idi, that the laws of mourning are stricter than the laws of Chol Moed, because you're allowed to carry it because they allowed you to carry the beam and to press it for the first time on Chol Moed, whereas in the mourners, in the case of the mourner, they allow somebody to do it for the mourner, but he can't do it himself. Rav Yehuda Amar Av Zor will stay in the year. He says you can even plow a field for him. You could sow a field for him. And Visada Almedas Lapishtan. And so too, if you have a field that's getting ready for flax, because if you don't sow it, it's going to be you're going to lose the opportunity. Amrulo, they said to him, no. No, if you miss this time, you could do it with a later crop. And if you lose the flax, you can do another crop. You're not going to be such a loss of money, so you're allowed to do it. So Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, there are some things that a mourner can do himself. What are they? Let's say the olives are already turned over and he's the only one who knows how to press them. It's very hard to press olives, to figure out the technique. I once tried it, didn't work. You need to know what you're doing when you press the olives. So if there's no other craftsman other than him, then he's allowed to do it. Kado aguf. Let's say there's he needs to cover up the barrel. And he's the only craftsman. He could do it. Let's say Pishtano alos min hamishra. Let's say he's the only one who knows how to take the flax out. B'tzmaro alos min hayora, or the wool from the path. And he's the only craftsman. He's able to do this in private. So under all those cases, the mourner is able to do it. So he says more than that. There are some cases where you can even do it in public. All these cases you can do it in private. Let's say the mourner, the whole town depended upon him. He was the only guy who knew how to go a sapar or balan. He was the only guy who knew how to work the public baths or give a haircut. Then balan or rabin, bigias a regal, and it's a festival. He's the only one who knows how to do it. The mourner can do the work in public. He's the only one who knows how to do it. So.
In the afternoon before Yom Tov,
they just mean like the days before. No, everybody needs a haircut. You can't give everybody a haircut 1 hour beforehand. You need to have them get the haircut. People need a haircut for Yom Tov. People need to take a bath, and he's the only guy who knows how to. He's the only one who knows how to give a haircut. You don't want people coming in looking with a bad haircut. So what about Arisin, Vachakirin? These are different types of farmers who work for other people, like sharecroppers or partners, vakablanin, or you pay him for a certain amount of job to do. Hareu yasu acherim b'shvilan. So this, if the mourner is doing this for other people, he can have other people do it on his behalf. He doesn't have to do it, even though the other guy shouldn't lose money because his farmer's a mourner, but still he has other people do it for him. Hachamarin, gemalin, vasapanin, the donkey drivers, the camel drivers, the sailors, harei elu lo yasu. They should not hire out their animals to rent them out so other people can get a ride while they're a mourner. But if their animals were already rented to other people, they can do it. Sechir Yom, let's say he's a day laborer. I feel he can't do it even in another city because there it's the other people were. It's just one day's work, and so therefore, and the other people could hire somebody else. Let's say other people hired him to do the other work. Even though it's under a contract, he can't do it. What do you mean even it's under a contract? What do you mean you say any kiboas? It's just the opposite. A contract means like you pay him in advance. So it's just the opposite. If you paid him in advance, of course he can't do it. Where says you're right, we have to change the text. Now, if other people hire you, whether they gave you some lump fee and say do the job, or whether they hire you by the hour, you can't do it if you're a mourner. Let's say he hired other people to do it. So if the work is in his house, I can't do it. But if it's in somebody else's house, it could be done. So now the Gemara says, I'll just do a couple more cases. Mariam braid the Ravan, Umar braid the Ravacha braid the Ravavu Gamo the Sorabadi Adadi. They owned together a camel and an ox, or they had two oxen together. So they used to work them together. Isra be Milsa be Mar braid Ravacha braid the Rava Upaskel Gamo. So he became a mourner. Marbar Ravacha Barava became a mourner. Upaskel Gamo, and so therefore he removed his ox from the yoke. So now there's only one. He didn't send him. He says, I'm a mourner. I can't send my ox to work with you. So he cost his friend the money, but we learned that it's allowed that you don't have to take away your ox so the other person can't work. So how come he did this? He says, how could he have done this? Okay, he's not losing his own money. He doesn't care about losing his own money because he's a mourner, but he's costing his partner money. But we learned in the source that if your ox was rented out to somebody else, they could continue to work. So why did he take back his ox, even though he's a mourner? Says who's Savar Adam Chashav Shani. He says, no, yeah, it's true, but I'm a distinguished person, and so therefore my ox can't work when I'm a mourner. All right, so let me start my video, and if anybody has